Well, I haven't responded yet in a video to the ridiculous Rolling Stone article about me and about other YouTubers and vloggers who are covering the Marilyn Manson hoax. That is the hoax that the actress Evan Rachel Wood has been perpetuating with others that she recruited, has been perpetuating against Manson since February of 2021. Earlier, if you count the time in which she was actively working on all this behind the scenes before she came forward publicly with her allegations against him. So it is a giant hoax. It is larger than what Amber Heard did to Johnny Depp. It is coordinated. It is multi-pronged. It involved a pretty sophisticated recruitment campaign. Evan Rachel Wood has gone before Congress, the California Assembly. She got a law passed. I mean, this is a two-part documentary on HBO. This is a big deal. And it is a story that some people are finally starting to wake up to. And that is because one of Evan Rachel Wood's recruits, one of Manson's original accusers, Ashley Morgan Smithline, she flipped and she said in a legal declaration, one of the few legal declarations that have been made actually in this case, she attested to the fact that it was a hoax, that she had been manipulated and pressured by Evan Rachel Wood to lie about Marilyn Manson. So the point is, people are catching on to the fact that this is an Amber Heard style hoax. In fact, it's bigger. In fact, it's probably one of the biggest hoaxes in the history of the entertainment industry, maybe the biggest. And so Rolling Stone doesn't like this because very early on in this situation, Rolling Stone threw in its lot with the accusers and has written a number of very unfair articles. Some of those articles written by men, and I will discuss why that's significant in a moment. Because apparently one of the accusations that Rolling Stone is floating against me in this article is that I specifically target and attack female journalists. I don't. But more about that in a minute. More in a minute about the lies that Rolling Stone is perpetuating against me in the latest article. So this is a big case, and Rolling Stone early on, it started in with the very slanted, unfair anti-Marilyn Manson articles, and there were people that were interviewed by Rolling Stone with exculpatory information from Manson, with stories and with comments and information that actually clear Manson or work in Manson's favor. And those people were either not interviewed by Rolling Stone, or if they were given maybe one or two sentences. And so basically Rolling Stone has been like the mouthpiece for the accusers on this. And multiple accusers in the Manson case have been given really, flashy photo spreads in Rolling Stone and articles that make them, they're very, very flattering articles, that sort of thing, right? So Rolling Stone now decided that the dissenting voices, those of us like me and a number of others who have been pushing back against this narrative, against this hoax, and trying to expose it, and trying to raise questions, and trying to stand up for the presumption of innocence in our society, which is fast becoming an antiquated, outmoded, anachronistic idea, unfortunately. Rolling Stone has decided that we are the enemy, and Rolling Stone is still sore over the fact that the Amber Heard, that whole trial basically turned into an entire debacle for Amber Heard and for MeToo. Rolling Stone doesn't like any of that. And so, they're still sore over what happened with Amber Heard, and they're still sore over the fact that people are waking up to the truth about the considerable downsides and negative byproducts of the MeToo movement. And the fact that there is an epidemic of false allegations now in our society. Rolling Stone doesn't like all that being exposed. And so, the narrative that they're presenting is that what happened with Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, where Rolling Stone claims that all of this online misogyny hurt Amber Heard, they're saying that it's happening again, and that now in the Evan Rachel Wood and Marilyn Manson hoax, that those of us who are trying to expose the truth are misogynist, and that we are basically part of a very dangerous emerging dynamic online. And so, I don't think the article is impressive. What I did want to talk about and what I did want to point out right now is the fact that they lied about me. Lied. Here's the thing. When I was growing up, this is kind of interesting. Well, maybe not interesting, but when I was growing up, my mom would never let us use the word lie, my sister and I. Like, she treated the word lie like it was a curse word. And so if we wanted to say that someone had lied about something, and here's the reason. She felt like it was mean. She felt like what you were doing is you were impugning someone's character. You were saying that they deliberately set out to do this really bad deceptive thing, right? And she just felt like it was too harsh or something. So instead, we would say the word that she liked was storied. He told a story. He storied about that, right? And of course, now looking back on it, I just I find it amusing. It's all those little quirks, that we grow up with that are specific, just to our family, and then we can look back later on and say, it's kind of funny or weird or whatever. What was, my parent had this quirk. She didn't like us to use the word lie, but um, Rolling Stone, whether it was intentional lies, and I kind of think it was. I think because none of the misrepresentations were in my favor. That's the thing. So here's the deal. Let me back up. Rolling Stone wrote a paragraph in this article about me. Now, they did not use my name. There were two of us in this that were clearly referred to, and one of them was Popcorn Planet. And as you'll remember, Popcorn Planet was the channel that did the first interview with Ashley Morgan Smithline. She called in. This was the Manson accuser who flipped and who exposed Evan Rachel Wood. So they did that interview. And also, they've been really great, especially recently, of standing up for the truth in this and trying to expose the truth and looking into this idea that Marilyn Manson is innocent. So Rolling Stone doesn't like them, apparently, or the writer doesn't like them. And so there was a paragraph that they didn't mention their name because they don't want to give us free PR. That's the thing, right? They mention everyone else's name involved in this. And someone pointed this out online. Rolling Stone, they mentioned everyone else's name involved in this, right? But they didn't mention any of the content creators, okay, that they're criticizing. They have this entire article in which they're basically calling us all misogynists and saying that we are carrying on a campaign of harassment and misogyny against innocent victims of abuse. They can say all of that and put all of that out there, and everybody can know exactly who they're talking about and everything. But they're not going to say our names because they don't want to give us free PR, but also I think primarily they don't want to direct people over to us because they know on some level, perhaps deep down, intrinsically, they know that when people watch our stuff, when people watch my videos or watch Popcorn Planet's videos or watch eHacker or any of the other people who are doing this stuff, Andrew Burkhart's another great one with the legal stuff, right? They know that when they watch our stuff, they're going to see they're going to see something presented that's going to be very compelling, which is the idea that Marilyn Manson at least might be innocent, okay? Maybe not everybody who watches my videos comes away thinking, oh, for sure he's innocent, but I think that I present overall a very compelling case that there is something wrong here. There's something very big time wrong here. And that there is definitely enough shady shit that has been done by those who have accused Manson. And there have been enough things that have come to light, very, very concrete things, to indicate that there is something deeply wrong and problematic about the story that the accusers and Evan Rachel Wood are telling and are promoting every chance that they've gotten, including a 2-part hit job documentary by HBO that didn't even attempt to fairly look at the situation. And these Rolling Stone people, they know some of these journalists that like to write these hit pieces or these negative pieces. And by the way, when I say hit pieces, like it's not like I'm complaining. Okay, look, I knew when I got into this, or let's say that as things started to intensify over the months, I could see that this thing that I've gotten into, which is exposing some of these MeToo hoaxes, and in particular, the biggest hoax in the history of the entertainment industry, I think, this Marilyn Manson hoax. I knew that when I really got into this, that I was going to get a ton of criticism, a ton. In fact, it's been much less intense than I expected it would be. And I know that if I become more successful, then it's going to get worse. It's going to get a lot worse. So it's not like, none of this was expected. Okay. But I'm calling it out because it is still toxic for our society. And some of us are trying to move back into the realm of truth and of presumption of innocence and not this automatic cancellation. And some of us, don't want to necessarily rewrite the entire dynamic between men and women that has evolved, over over human evolution. And I understand that there were changes that needed to be made in the entertainment industry, and that there are a number of sleazy, reprehensible and even criminal actors in all of this, including, Harvey Weinstein and others, right? Like James Toback and Yes, there's a number of them. But Me Too has in a number of ways it has overcorrected, or it has generated a kind of negative byproduct, which is what all movements and all ideologies, no matter how great they might be, generate. And so what I'm saying, I am a voice sort of in the corner of the internet along with a few others saying, hey guys, while we're on this trip, we might want to pay some attention to the tremendous collateral damage that's being created by all of this. And in fact, not just collateral damage, as someone pointed out to me, because that has just an unintentional connotation, kind of like getting back to my mom who's like, just say they storied. No, some of these people are lying. And I'm talking right now about Evan Rachel Wood, and I'm talking about other false accusers, okay? The media, I think they're gullible and stupid and generally, and I think they get these narratives in their head and they're just so wedded to them psychologically that they can't even, I think sometimes they can't even see, I think it's like those pictures that were so popular in the 90s, the 3D pictures where like you stare at them and then after a while you get this 3D image that comes out, the dots or whatever. And like for the longest time, when I would stare at those, I guess because I was just like, I didn't know how to look at them right. And I could never see it. I just hate those fucking things, right? But then what happened was one day I was looking at it and I kind of relaxed my eyes and what happens like when you do that, right? When you relax the eyes and then the whole thing just shifts and then you see it. And then from that point on, every time I looked at them, I could always see it, right? Because I knew how to look at them so that I could see it. And it's like seeing the Matrix with this stuff. And there are a lot of reporters and journalists and activists and people who have not seen the Matrix on the Me Too thing. Okay, they can't see the fullness of what's going on here, including a hell of a lot of false accusations and the weaponization not only of Me Too, but of a media that is more inclined than ever toward sensationalism and toward a kind of a fuzziness with the truth. And we could even get into philosophy with this, but I won't. But we could talk about Baudrillard. Okay, we could talk about the idea that hyperreality has displaced reality and that media are no longer at all about trying to communicate a reality, but rather trying to reproduce and amplify sensationalized narratives or politicized narratives. Okay, so let's get to this Rolling Stone article. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but here's the article. Evan Rachel Wood is the latest celebrity victim of an online misogyny playbook. Here is the paragraph about Popcorn Planet. But the only other account that they talk about in here is mine. And I know they're talking about me because there's two things in here that are accurate. So I'll just read it to you. It says another popular account, which has accused both Wood supporters and female supporters of trying to frame Warner, has posted at least 23 videos about the Warner suit in the past 3 months, each of which not only refers to Warner as innocent, but directs viewers to donate to the creator's Patreon for more Warner updates. Brian Warner, Marilyn Manson, that's his real name. The videos have a total of 193,000 views. So here's the thing. Yes, I have produced 23 videos in the last 3 months about the Manson case, and they have totaled 193,000 views, or they had at the point at which this article came out. So I know they're talking about me. So here's the thing, though. They're talking about me in this article, right? But over half of this paragraph about me is inaccurate. It's a lie. For one thing, they say another popular account which has accused both Wood supporters and female reporters of trying to frame Warner. So what they're doing here, they are accusing me of specifically targeting female supporters and also Evan Rachel Wood supporters, like people online and I guess like her sympathizers in the media. They say that I have targeted these people, I've accused them of trying to frame Marilyn Manson. And no, I haven't. I've not accused anyone in the media of trying to frame Manson. I've accused people in the media of being stupid, of being gullible, of having a politicized agenda that they can't see beyond. Okay? And I have not specifically targeted female journalists. I mean, what about Thomas Meyer of Rolling Stone? I've criticized him. I've criticized plenty of others. But it's just so blatant what they're doing here. And here is where it becomes obvious that they're not just storying, as my mom would say, but that they actually are deliberately, intentionally lying. That we move beyond this sort of collateral damage to something that is highly intentional and knows what it's about. Because what they're trying to make it seem is that I'm targeting female journalists, that I have a misogynistic agenda, that I only criticize female journalists, and that I'm actually not just criticizing them, but I'm accusing them of something that they're not doing, which is trying to frame a man. So this part here, right off the bat, they're trying to make me look horrible. And this is not true actually of any Marilyn Manson vloggers, right? So I don't care, who they're talking about here. It's not true. It's a lie. And to start off like that, just right off the bat, start off lying. And then it mentions, that I posted 23 videos. Okay, that's right. And then this says my videos, each of which not only refers to Warner as innocent, but directs viewers to donate to the creator's Patreon for more Warner updates. That is absolutely not true. Yes, I have a Patreon. Okay. Yes, I try to make a little money off this stuff, not much, let me tell you. A little money off this stuff, okay? Because I soak so much time into it, and people don't even know what has to go on behind the scenes, okay? Let me just tell you, it's kind of like that Freudian iceberg example. The Freudian idea that who we really are is the big part of the iceberg beneath the surface of the water, and the part that we see is just the top, it's just the conscious part. Well, it's kind of the same with the amount of work that goes into something like I'm doing, especially, when you're at my level and you don't have assistance, right? Just like some other Manson supporters who care enough, to try to help with some of this. But it's really like an iceberg. Like what you're seeing, which is the videos that I put out or whatever, that's like the little tip top, and there's all of this work underneath that people don't see. And I guarantee you, I am making much less on what I'm doing than anyone who's working at Rolling Stone, any of their writers, or Cat 10 Barge, or any of the others. They are being compensated much more, I am sure, for what they're doing and for the amount of work they're putting in, I would imagine. But anyway, I can't say that though, it'll come off like I'm complaining. But I'm just stating, if they're gonna make all these insinuations because look, what are they saying here? First of all, I do have a Patreon, but where they are lying is that I never, ever, ever tie that Patreon or membership to that Patreon to Marilyn Manson updates, to Brian Warner updates. My Patreon, if you join my Patreon, you're going to get some philosophy-oriented and psychology-oriented videos. You're going to get occasional early access to interviews that I do, which every now and then might be about Marilyn Manson, but they're certainly never advertised by me as, oh, you're going to get the scoop here, or get on my Patreon so you can get, extra updates about Manson. No. And then you're going to find like personal videos, what's going on in my life and what do I think about other topics and stuff. And then there's a book club that I do. It's kind of stalled as of late, but I'm trying to get it back off the ground. But a book club. So that's it. That's my Patreon. All right. There's like almost no Marilyn Manson stuff on my Patreon. And I never, ever, ever, when I talk about my Patreon and my videos at the very end, when I say, hey, I'd love your support, check out my PayPal, check out my Patreon, right? I never, ever sell that as, if you do, you're going to get Marilyn Manson updates. You're going to get juicy tidbits. But you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to paint me as someone who's not only profiting off of this story, but as someone who is trying to hook viewers in with, a little bit of tantalizing information, right? And hook them with my, my misogynistic dynamic that I exude over the internet, and just get all of these misogynists to start following me. Most of my audience is female, by the way, the vast majority of my audience. And I don't even know why, but the vast majority of my audience are female right now. You can see it on YouTube. It tells you male, female, and other, right? So it's a lot more women. But anyway, I guess there's just a lot of internalized misogynists, right? So they think that I hook people with this, and then I exploit that kind of sensationalized dynamic, right? Almost like an addiction, like I'm a crack dealer, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give you a little free crack here, right? You like that crack? You like that crack? You want some more? You want some more? You got to pay for it. You got to pay for that crack. Oh, but you like that crack because I gave it to you. You smoked it and you liked it. You want some more? You want some more? Come to my Patreon and get some of that crack. That's what they think I'm doing, or at least that's how they're trying to depict it. But the reason why this bothers me so much, and why I just think this is so insidious, is because think of it this way. I am really insignificant. And so I am this insignificant and they will have this many lies about me in this one paragraph. This is one paragraph they did about me, and over half of it is lies. And not just innocent lies, but like targeted lies, intentional lies, because they're trying to make me look bad. Because none of the lies are in my favor, right? Quite to the contrary. If they do that, what are journalists doing? Like, what are they doing? If they can't, it's kind of like this. A friend of mine once said this. He said, if you think that the media do a good job or that you can trust them, just think about a time when the media reported on something that you yourself are an expert in, or that you had great understanding of, or a story that you were a part of personally. Remember how they got a number of things wrong in that story, more likely than not. I mean, I've had this happen. I'm not just talking about recently, but I mean, even before I started the YouTube channel, just in my normal life, things happen in life or whatever. And you'll see occasionally, someone will write an article about something that you're very familiar with, or maybe the business that you work at or some event that you were involved in. And there's errors, right? There are errors. Think about that and then understand that that happens all the time, that that's not a fluke. That is the nature of the business of journalism. And the thing is, even when you're trying really, really, really hard to tell a story correctly or to be accurate, it's difficult. But in our current media moment now, where the mainstream media have just abdicated this responsibility to even attempt accuracy, and it's just become about these sort of highly politicized agendas. Let me tell you what happens at the end of my videos, okay? Because they apparently think, I guess because they've never gotten to the end of one of my videos. But no, at the end of my videos, I do not say subscribe to my Patreon so you can get juicy updates on Marilyn Manson or Brian Warner, right? No, I don't. What I say is I appreciate your support. I think this fight is very important. And hey, if you like this, I got a lot of other stuff that you might like on my Patreon. And if you don't like that, my PayPal link is below. I really appreciate it. Bye, everybody.